many. But again, we ask the question, whatever happened to humanity? Because some scholars would say, do you necessarily have to belong to a particular faith or creed for you to understand or appreciate the existence of another human being? Because this is where we begin to look at how the ways parted. But let's put that question to Imam Muhammad Bunurain Ashafa in our Kaduna studio.
Thank you very much for these important opportunities to share with Nigerians, looking at the values within our religious traditions and how does that values influence our humanity, positively or negatively. Today, it seems that those core values are influencing us negatively, and because of that, what the religious stand to represent have been mismanaged, misdirected, misinformed by the adherent, misrepresented by the adherent of this faith. And I strongly feel that yes, we need religion to be better human being. And in needing religion to be better human being, religion, we are all from God. God is our creator, and religion is like a manual code. When you buy a car, you need a manual in the car that tells you how to operate those cars. And our religious persuasion, religion, have been an instrument that represent a manual, a code, a guiding principles for how to be a better human being. And if you use it positively, then you become a better human being, a more positive human being. And when you use it negatively, you become the other side of the human family. And that informed the reality, as always said clearly, that religious leaders become divided into three important parts: the good, the bad, and the ugly religious leaders. So this bad pilot, or the ugly pilot, who drive the car very crazy, misrepresent Islam, misinformed the adherent, and by doing that, instead of promoting the dignity of the human person, they end up demonizing the human person. Instead of positive solidarity, they end up with negative solidarity. To conclude on this just key point, a professor from Canada visited us in Nigeria, and he was an expert on interfaith relation. And he says, he asked us in the room, we are all children of Abraham. We say yes, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, you are the closest faith all in one. He said yes. He said, in one word, how do we describe Judaism? And we say, in one word, Judaism is about law. He said, in one word, how do you describe Christianity? He said, Christianity is love. In one word, how do you describe Islam? He said, Islam is justice. Justice. So then, if Judaism is about law and order, Christianity is about love and compassion, and Islam is about justice, what do you expect from adherents of these religions? Is to have a social order, to have a love and compassion, a unifying factor, and to have the spirit of justice and equity as a bond that band us together. These are the missing link, because most of our drivers today, our pilots in this ship of religion, have misused, have abused, because some of them are incapable and some of them are mischievous, meaning they've abused the ethic of their profession. This is the issue on the ground, and that is what we are facing in Nigeria of today.
I like that analysis, but we'll just stay in Kaduna there and also get to hear from Pastor James.
Yeah, thank you very much. Talking about human values and the coexistence that has been embedded in our religion. First and foremost, as ambassadors of the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule states in about 10 religious persuasions in the world. It says, do unto others what you want others to do unto you. And if we will live by these principles, then we have to express that pragmatically. It is not just about verbalizing this principle, but about living the principle. And if Nigerians will begin to do this, we will have a better Nigeria. If Nigerians will begin to discuss these matters, discuss them around the world, discuss them around table, like North-South dialoguing on these issues of value, it is time to take this discussion to the grassroots and people to talk about and dialogue about unity And when you talk about interfaith unity, we are not talking about amalgamation of the faith, but we are talking about respect for the other faith. We are talking about accepting the other faith as the faith is without compromising the values of your faith. Where the other freedom ends, the other freedoms also take off. So that we must operate within an orbit, and also within the orbit across the other line, but have space of moving and navigating back and forth. So for me, I want to say that our faiths allow us, teachings of this faith allow giving space to the other, and giving also a breathing space for dialogue. And I think dialogue is the solution to understanding this unity. I think religious leaders at the grassroots, like was done recently, there were iftar all over Nigeria. One we ran in Enugu, where the other was run in Sokoto, and several states like Borno. This is to understand that we are common people, and we need to understand the myths within our religions and learn to talk across our hearts, dialoguing, building bridges across our hearts to understand the common value of humanity. And for me, this is what this unity should enshrine, and this is what we must pursue as Nigerians.
Pastor James Weir. Right, but we look at our country today, and it's fraught with all kinds of communal crises, and some have attributed this crisis to parochial interests of the leaders. Now, if the followers, and this is a question I ask always, is it that the people deserve the leaders they get, or the leaders deserve the kind of people they lead?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. It has always been said like that, you know, leaders come from the same people that they lead. And but I want us to call our attention to something. Let us not generalize the world problem and put it all on the shoulders of religious people. We shouldn't forget that there are amongst us people who are not even religious at all. Those who don't even believe in God at all are also there. We are all Nigerians. And we also have had the problems of tribalism that has nothing to do with religion or religious affiliation. Strive for dominion, strive for more wealth, for more power, for expanded territory, some deception of the world as it is. There are so many things. They are so complicated, so much so that sometimes, if you look very deeply, just like Reverend mentioned earlier on, religion has no hand in some of the problems that we have in the society as it is today. But nevertheless, things have been the way they are, and in Nigeria, we recognize Christianity and Islam a lot, and because of that, we sometimes conclude that if there's any problem, it must be religious people that have caused the problem.
Yeah, but yes, I want us to even look beyond that and say, yes, like you mentioned, there are people who don't believe in any of those religions, and they're there. It doesn't presuppose that they're always at war. Whether people believe in something or not, there is still a human. So what has happened to that communal existence that we had in this country? It didn't even matter. Well, sometimes the communities that go to war are from the same faith, and these things happen. So what's happening to the people themselves at a time when people recognize that they were their brother's keepers outside the ambit of religion? What has happened to that?
Well, thank you. It's quite trying to trace where we missed it all. We missed our common humanity. Let's go back to those of us who confess faith in God. We believe that the earth is God's own and the fullness thereof, and therefore all human beings come from God. And not only the human beings, even the trees and the mountains and all the things we see are from God. There is supposed to be a harmony, not only between man and man, but between man and creation. There is supposed to be a harmony. We are missing out on this, and several factors are definitely behind it. if you look at how we used to live together in Nigeria in the past, Christians and Muslims, let's take the example of those two. There was good neighborliness. There was friendship. I remember that as a little child growing up, my parents were Christians, and when they would travel, they would leave me in the hands of a Muslim woman to take care of me. They would travel for church-related programs, and I was at the custody of a woman that was a Muslim. And they will arrive and have me back. They did not have any fears of leaving me at the custody of a Muslim woman. And as we went to school as young children, we had friends, Christians and Muslims. We would go to the house of the Christian to have our meal during break time, and then we'll go to the Muslim boy's house to have meal during break time. There was so much of cordiality. But as you said, the differences started widening and increasing with time, and I would say that particularly in Nigeria from the early 80s, when we had some of the Mediation riots and things like that, that started introducing problems, and from that time we have just gone from one to another, and we have not been controllable. So there is so much mistrust. But I want to say that even at times when we had some religious crisis in this nation, there were some communities that did not allow any religious crisis to occur in their communities. There were Christians and Muslims, and they disallowed maybe adherents of one group coming to influence them. They say, no, in this part of town we are all one. The Christians and Muslims, we are brothers of one another. And if you look at what our faiths teach, we teach love for one another. We teach that we should be neighbors of one another. Christianity teaches that everybody in need around you is a neighbor. Islam teaches neighborliness and tells you that, see, 40 houses to your right, 40 houses to your left, in front of you, behind you, they are all your neighbors. You have to take care of them. Therefore, you will see that the people are departing from the teaching of their scriptures when they make enemies one of another and begin to destroy. You are supposed to protect and help and assist. Now, during this fasting period, I have just been overwhelmed because I've gone for some of the breaking of the fast in some of the mosques. And what did I see? That at the mosque, while breaking the fast and we were eating with our Muslim brothers, then there were several people that were brought who were supposed to be poor people without food, and that day there was going to be sharing. Now, if you read in the Bible, the book of Isaiah chapter 58, the Bible condemns people who just fast and do not follow it with action. It says, you fast, but then you live in injustice. You oppress the poor. You see the hungry, you do not feed him. And yet you say you are fasting. So your fasting is to be accompanied with all these virtues, these good deeds that are expected of you. This is what the Bible is saying. And during the fasting, I saw that was what the Muslims were also practicing. They had eaten, but now it was time to share with the less privileged and everything. I said, see, there are a lot of commonalities in the two religions, and it is lack of understanding and certain mischiefs, like Imam Ashafa said, mischievous leaders that misinterpret, just because you should not forget that when there are troubles, some people benefit from troubles. And so they create troubles in order to benefit from it. But if they go by the strict teachings of the scriptures, there will not be problem. We will live as in love with one another in this country. That's what I believe. And so there is so much that the religious leaders must do. In fact, they have so much opportunities. No one has opportunities like the religious leaders, not even the political leaders. Because the religious leaders, every Friday, the congregations will come. Every Sunday, the congregations will come. You are in touch with people in large numbers. Not even a king is in touch with people as such. Not even a governor is in touch. But your own is regular. They come all the time. And you have the opportunity on a document of authority, the scriptures, either the Bible or the Quran, from where you are speaking. So everybody takes you seriously. Definitely you have so much to influence in terms of building peace, harmony in the society. And it's also always good to remind religious leaders that they must play their role in making this society a peaceful society and a society that will progress.
All right. Again, as we go to our Kaduna Center, we ask the same thing, that yes, people need not necessarily, as they say, belong to any of the faiths, but just that they are human beings and they recognize the space of other humans as, as human beings, really. And there's also this bit that while we claim that there are so many people who are adherents to one faith or the other, we don't actually practice those. So it goes back to the human being. So what is wrong with the human being?
Thank you. This is a very important question that you have asked, Cyril. For me, what is wrong with the human being is that the human man and woman is very greedy and does not know when enough is enough. And for that reason, the desire to accumulate and to create a barrier between him, the competitive spirit of the human comes to play in this situation. But if we come to looking at this thing, if there is a problem, and if a problem is known, the solution to that problem is on the way. And as I want to share this practical thing, is that in order to address this phenomenon, that religion in Nigeria, Nigerians are the most religious nation in the world. It is documented by the Bertelsmann Foundation in Germany that we are 92% the most religious nation in the world. But sometimes I will always ask, it is one thing to be religious and it is one thing to be godly. It is one thing to practice the values of our religion. I think I feel strongly, I keep repeating this, we have rich values in our religious tradition. And we have these values that can infect the other. And the value, that thing that should infect one another is those core values of love. Like the Reverend Akanji said, similarly, I was in a program in Maiduguri. This is a very good thing they did. Over 10,000 people were gathered in Maiduguri at Borno radio television, where I was asked to speak on in Ramadan lecture. And verses from the Holy Quran, like chapter 2, verse 177, is almost the same as what Reverend Akanji has just mentioned in the Bible. And all these things are calling us for coexistence. That is why pragmatically we are beginning to bring young people from the southeastern Nigeria, particularly Owerri, to move them to Bauchi and say, speak to your Bauchi, live in their house, go to Tafawa Balewa, go to Bauchi's municipal and live even there and see how they live. And young people also from Bauchi to go to Okigwe and go to Owerri and mingle with the people. Let's start humanizing the other. All those unhealed memories, all those collective unhealed memories that are transferred from our parents to us, and now we are also passing these hate narratives to our younger ones. It is what is wrong with the humanity, but it can be corrected. And like the previous speaker has said, the religious people have a platform that they can inculcate this value. And if we can do it righteously, if we can do it wholly, and we can do it as prescribed in our scriptures, the human man and the human woman in our society will be better off. And for me, that is one key thing that has to be done. And before I stop at this moment, is to say there is a need to partner with institutions of higher learning to inculcate these values in the schools, like the one we are doing with CASU, the one we are doing with Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. These are where to pass on the pedagogy of rehumanizing people, the interfaith theology of communication that is inclusive of the other. And that way, we can rehumanize Nigeria and rehumanize our society.
Yes, let Imam Ashafa take it from that point too.
Thank you very much. As he's moving to say from school, we have issues that are strongly, apart from the role of religion, the parents have a very key role to play. Most of our parents in the world of today compare with the times Terence Tova was a young child, and like Abdul Fattah and Akaji, Israel, they're all young people. At that time, the responsibility of parenting was not thrown to a nanny. It's not thrown to somebody on the street. It is committed and taken over by the parent. The two parents have a very key important role to play. So therefore, even most of us today, even from kindergarten, we send our children to boarding school in nursery school. Nursery school, a child go in the morning until the mother come back in the evening before she come and pick the child. What do you expect of child? We are now alive like having a flower in the garden. When you have a flower that you didn't trim it, you didn't follow it up very well, then what you expect in that flower is to grow wild. And beneath it, you have snakes and everything dangerous under it, where you cannot, even in your garden, you can't move closer. This is the situation we have. Our parent has failed. Some of our parents today, modern generation parents, we have failed in our primary responsibility on taking care of our children. If you remember clearly, this thing started from the 80s upward, with the economic recession, and everybody is looking for money. The husband has to work, the wife has to work, everybody has to work, and instead of working for just 8 hours, we work extra hours. You go early in the morning by 7, everybody is out on the street, and you are not coming back until 7. I remember one case in Kaduna here, during one of those unfortunate events where the government put up a curfew. And this boy wake up in the night, in the morning, he just saw somebody in his house. And he cried, "Mommy, mommy, we have a stranger in our house, we have a stranger in our house." And the mother has to come and say, "Where is the mother?" Came from the kitchen running back and discovered that it is his father. He said, "It's not a stranger, it's your father, my child. This is your father." This shows to you that the man wake up early in the morning, you go to the central market. He will not come back, he's the last man in the central. Before you come back, the child has slept. And that shows the level of how we have thrown away our primary responsibility. There's a little, the teacher have a little role to play, the imam has a little role to play, the community has a little, but the parent have also a key role to play. And that's why Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made it very clear to us. He says, when you educate a woman, you are educating a nation. But when you educate a man, you are educating an entity. It means the mother is the primary responsibility. How much role are we doing in terms of making our parent, our children, to be our primary focus, in terms of modeling them to have a better future? I think this is the missing link, and this is one of the key areas we need to work upon, because today, most of those children you find from the northeast to the south-south and southeast, either as an insurgency, you find there are children who are the victims of misguided parental care or abandoning primary responsibility of parental caring in our society. That's just a little to add on to that.
So, now we come back to the cradle, the home. But our phone lines are already open. We have our first call coming through from Kano. Adam, who's calling from Kano. Hello, Adam. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. Good evening. Are you hearing me? Hello? Are you hearing me? Hello? Hello?
Go on, Adam, we can hear you.
Are you hearing me, please?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I'm interested on the program. It has been a continuous program that I'm so much interested in. One of the major problems that we are having. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I think one of the major problems we are having in this country, we have to be sincere with ourselves, comes from this particular question, and this thing was not controlled.
Oh dear. We seem to be having some challenges with the audio there, and I'm not quite sure that we can hear what Adam is saying at this point in time. Okay, do we still have Adam on the line? No, I think we lost that call. But we'd just like to encourage you to call back. And let me re-emphasize that once your name appears on screen, it means that call has been taken. Turn down the volume of your TV so you don't get the hurlback or the echo, and just go ahead. If you just watch through, you can get to see when your name is actually placed on screen, and that means you can go on. But coming back to the studio, yes, are we abandoning our roles as parents? And we talk about the home. Today, like Imam Ashafa has just mentioned, you find that children are growing up with little or no guidance from the home. And everything is transferred to either the teacher at school or some other person.
Thank you very much. To build on that, the values have changed. The focus of parents have changed. In fact, the society at large is not helping the matter. What people consider success is no longer bringing up a good child. It is the material things that you have. So this spirit of materialism, I want to have, I must achieve, I must do this and that, has made us to lose focus on what is really important. The very important things in our lives, we have kept them aside, and we are pursuing things that are so ephemeral. I remember that in the mosques and the churches, we talk about fear of God. We talk about preparing for the hereafter. We talk about doing good deeds and leaving good legacies behind. But nowadays, if in your place of worship you don't talk much about being rich, you don't talk about being successful in terms of naira and kobo, people think you are still preaching of things in the past. Unfortunately, also, in the recent past, we have seen that people had begun to worship money a lot, and people began to accumulate this wealth by all means, any means that they could. So this has really changed our ways of looking at things. Now, you are bringing up a child, and the child, you tell him to work hard in order to be successful in life, but he sees another child that's from a very rich parent who is not doing anything whatsoever and is living a much happier, so to speak, life than the boy. He will want to follow his friends and see what they do. So the change in value, generally, I'm generalizing now, generally the value system have changed to materialism.
All right. Okay, let's go back to the phones now. We have calling in from Abuja here is Kenneth. Kenneth, hello, Kenneth, go ahead. Okay, we've lost that call as well. Right. Reverend Akonji, train a child the way he should go.
Exactly. And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Now they depart, don't they?
Yes. Well, are we training them? Somebody says if you don't train them, don't blame them.
Okay.
And a lot of times we discover that that concentration to train the child is not there. In fact, the society somehow has a way of looking down on the child. They don't treat child importantly. Even in the days of Jesus, mothers were bringing children for him to bless them, and people were driving them away. No, please go. These are children. Jesus said, no, do not deprive them from coming to me, for of such is the kingdom of God. Because children, by their lifestyle of innocence from sin and ability to reconcile with one another, ability to share and to love, children have a lot of characteristics that are godly. They are not yet polluted as to become like adults. And Jesus even says that for you to enter the kingdom of God, you must be like a child. So he took the children, held them to his side, and blessed them. That means that for Jesus, the children were very, very important. And the Holy Scriptures teach us that we should train these children. When we give them training now, it is for their future. If we don't train them, then they will become whatever they find to become. And I feel that the whole thing is blamed on this lack of concentration of our parents of these days. In our own days when we were growing up, one parent was at home. Most of the times, someone was with the children. Yes. And these days, we leave the children to the nannies who do not give them any training and everything. And somebody was speaking with me when we went for this iftar just a few days ago. He said, okay, if we when we were growing up, our parents gave us so much attention, and we knew one another as Christians and Muslims. We were friends of one another. If things are this bad, for those of us who had that experience, what will happen in the future for our children that are not even meeting with one another? We are not even teaching them to know that that is another person you should love, you should embrace, you understand? They will not even have any history to go back to. We have history of moving with our friends, Christians and Muslims. What history will they have? So the parents of today have a lot of challenges in their hands to help build a better Nigeria. You must tell your child that that person is, don't teach your child that that person is a bad person. Don't teach your child that that person, don't talk to him, don't greet him, don't have anything to do with him. Don't teach, let the child grow. Just teach your child the values. And part of the values is to love, is to have dignity in our minds for humanity. That person is important, created by God, and you should love him. And if he's in need, you should help him. If you have anything, stand by him. So all these values, we must teach our children to be able to know how to live in this society. We are losing these values, and the future, there is so much fear if we do not, as parents, return to what we should be doing.
All right. Scary stuff. Back to the phones. Well, we seem to be having one of those nights with the phones, but we'll try and get through to them as we go on. Back to Kaduna, and we have the two co-executive directors who are there in our Kaduna Center. And again, we started the conversation on what parents have lost or have stopped doing. We started from that end. But again, like Pastor Webb would say, we can do something about it. So what can we begin to do about it? Talking about parental care these days.
Thank you. Parental care. I have a story, very brief. We went to an international school where a child was asked to draw his world. And I have his drawing. He said, "My world will be full of candy." That was a narration. Number 2, I will not throw trash. Number 3, if some kind of people from a particular field would be ugly, if they change, I will give them candy. That is the story of a 5-year-old child who told him that the other people are not the right people, or they will look ugly in his own world. It is either the parent or a teacher of the child somewhere has been inculcating dangerous narratives on that child. Now, how do we get about this? The solution, first and foremost, is, as my colleague said, train a woman and you train the whole country, or you train the whole world. Now, women and men must learn to talk good of the other. You see, there are derogatory name calling that we call people of the other faith right before our words. They hear us say it, we talk about it, but when we are together, we pretend everything is okay. Those children are good learners. They learn by what we do or what we say. So first and foremost, parents must learn to talk about the other with respect. There is a verse, some of my Muslim friends told me, that we are asked not to call their gods or say something derogatory against their God, lest they say something derogatory against your God. You don't call them bad, let them say something bad against your own. Now, what are those things that we call? I will be very frank here to most people watching, because we are practitioners, we are peace practitioners. There are names that we call the Muslim. We call them the children of the bondwoman. And in Hausa, it's very terrible if you hear the word. And the Muslims also call us names. They call us like kufr. They call us like arna. We call them the unbelievers. We have this thing, and our children are hearing. So when the children go out there and they begin to talk to their friends, they remember what dad and mom used to say at home about the others. And that brings fracas and challenge. So if we must do this, if we must get it right, parents must begin to say in their closet, begin to call the names that these scriptures has asked them to call you. The Bible says if you can call any person Raka, you are guilty of judgment in the last day. And if you do call somebody with a name he does not want, then you also are guilty of judgment. So how do we change the narrative? How do we begin to teach this? Pedagogy of peace building among children of kindergarten and peer mediation in secondary school is very imperative. Training also religious leaders who are training our children in school must be done. A pedagogy of inclusive theology, of communication, must be developed in order to begin to address these issues and take them headlong. And certain sanctions must be put in place for deviance that will want to teach our children wrong values, which is against the order as we continue in this thing. I think this will go a long way towards helping build a nation that everybody respects the order.
Just before we bring in Imam Ashafa, let's see if we can get this call through from Lagos. Lai, who's calling in from Lagos. Hello, Lai. Go ahead. Yes, hello, Lai. Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
We would like to contribute to this program. My contribution will come in 3 ways. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
My contribution will come in 3 ways.
Okay.
One, from the parenting. In the area of parenting, some of our parents are no more doing their role, are no more playing their role. Like Imam Ashafa said, most of their work as a parent have been committed to the nannies and the teachers. Whereas when they go to work, they come back in the evening. I remember when I was growing up, in the morning, when I wake up, I'll do the housework, I'll go to work, leaving my mom and my dad back at home. Later my dad goes to the work. I'll still come back in the afternoon to meet my mom. Stay in the house. She will feed me as a mom. I'll go to my lessons and come back to the evening to meet my dad. Around 9, in that period, I'll listen to 20 minutes with him. I will go to bed. Whenever he sees an adult coming back from work, he will tell me, go and collect from that man, go and collect from that woman. I will take to their home. That's what the parents do. But nowadays, if you caution a son or a daughter of your neighbor, it's a problem. They will take it against you. Why are you beating my son? Why are you beating my daughter? But in the past, you can scold a neighbor, son, and they will not talk. Back to the schools. In my own primary school days, there is a subject we call moral instruction. I don't think that exists anymore. Moral instruction where they teach you how to greet an elder, what to do when you see an elder. I don't believe that occurs anymore in the school. And back to the religious aspect, most of those fathers in the Lord, the pastors, the imam, they do those kinds of, and they bear the names just for the honor. They are no more taking up the role for them to teach what the Bible nor the Quran says. They are only looking for a way to make money out of those books. Take recognition out of it. Pastor, imam. Whereas they live the ethic of what God says to them to do. I never thought of thinking about it. They live in their own. They leave God's own as secondary. The primary aim, they did this from me. They believe they have to make money through that source, through that books for themselves, without considering the congregation. And lastly, this program is a nice one for we coming up one. Say, at this time, after 11, kids have gone to bed. It's the only parent that have opportunity to watch the TV. If they can bring something around 7, 8, when kids are still awake, parents can call their kids, sit down and listen and see what is going on the screen. They will gain from it, adults will gain, and likewise those ones you answer. Mr. Moderator, please take it into consideration for those upcoming ones. Throughout there are fathers. People listening right now are fathers or fathers to be. The young ones have gone to bed. Please, I'm begging, for the sake of these young upcoming up. In my own age, I see my dad for missing 20 years. That's why I need to restore. That's why I need job normal. It's As you ask those young ones now to mention your mom, to mention any of these NTA staffs, they can't. What they watch is on the 20 station. Please, let's bring back NTA of those days when we watched operas with our parents. Please. Thank you, sir, and good night.
All right. Thank you very much, live from Lagos. We appreciate your contribution. And so we'll go back to Kaduna Center, and then we'll hear from Imam Ashafa.
Thank you very much, our colleagues and the studio over there. One important thing I would love to add here is one, I strongly feel there's a serious challenge with the process even of marriage today. There's supposed to be something like guiding and counseling in terms of marriages. What do we expect? The rampant rate in which divorces is happening across our society is at alarming rate. And most of these children of broken homes, they become another challenge that we face in our society today. Maybe we need to do something. Most of our guiding and counseling units in our institutions are gone. We need to bring them back. Secondly, and very importantly, as my colleague Lai said from Lagos, the issue of moral education, civic education. Who are the role models? Every child wake up, we have mentors, and we have role models we see in our future that these are people, this is what I want to become. This is what I want to be mentored after. Today, who are our role models? Instead of having an icon, we all have idols. Today, we have promotion of idols, 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 instead of icon, icon, and icon. So the issue is the civic education that tells us our leaders of our past, heroes of these nations, leaders who have done wonderfully well, leaders who are role models of our nations, who have given their life to sustain our nation, to make our nation pride. As a children from primary school, you start memorizing, knowing them, and start choosing what part you want to mentor. These things are crushed out of our schools. You don't see them even in secondary school. You don't see them again in our primary schools. Most of this civic education have been gone. How do we bring it back? Thirdly, very importantly, our teachers in school. How qualify our teachers? I remember some states, I don't want to mention names, they have the same exams for children in primary 6 were given to teachers. Less than 50% of them pass the exams. These are teachers who are supposed to teach our children what we need to learn, what we need to know. They fail even in passing the primary school exams. So therefore, how of course we have the grade 2 examinations, the grade 2 teachers of those days. How do we bring back the spirit of even mentoring good teachers with tools on how they are going to teach our children? It's not until most of our teachers today, he doesn't have a job to do. Can you take a teaching job as a temporary major? So he come into teaching profession not because he loved the profession, not because he want to mentor others as a giver, as a guide for others, for our future generation. No, he's there because he has no job to do. He's a teacher. If he never get a good job, he move away from it. So how do we bring back that sanity into teaching profession to make it a symbol of pride for whoever chooses that profession today? So that a father have no right to come to school and even slap a teacher because his child was disciplined or is being disciplined for out of indiscipline. These are some of those things that is missing, that I believe, which in those days when schools were run and supported by different religious institutions, faith-based organizations, we know the moral values we attach to our children. How do we bring back those moral values, those moral authority we have as teachers who have a clear vision of why they are into teaching professions? I think these are some of those things we need to bring back. And then we do that, and then the prospect of our imams and pastors promoting gospel of prosperity instead of gospel of humanity. How do we go? How do we guide and bring in a system that will checkmate our religious leaders, both imam and the pastors who are living affluent life? How do we check it? Because these are part of the factors that most of our children are looking into. They said they want to have those, they want to live affluent life instead of living for the model. These are some of those things we need to look into, sir.
Thank you so much. And let's go over to Abia, where we have Adiele calling in. Hello. Adiele is still on the line from Abia. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm very much happy with the discussion. we're having this night. And I'm also happy with the way our Muslim brothers, the way they, they go ahead with their fasting and also trying to encourage people to pray. Honestly, the kind of seriousness they showcase in praying, I so much admire it. I so much. Because they don't joke with their praying. They don't joke with their prayer. But one thing always struck my mind, and that is the issue of killing. We discovered that so many killings in the world today are coming from the part of our Muslim brothers. And it's in kind of trying to discourage people like the Christians do. Christians will evangelize, win souls into the church. Then I'm also expecting the Christians, the Muslims, bring out to preach to people, win souls to the fold for God. But the killing and the other things that are going on in the Muslim circle, it makes me to discuss the most effort they put into the prayer. They pray so much, they don't joke with that prayer. Whatever thing they're doing, when the time comes, they will stop it and go in for prayer. I so much like that. But this attitude of fighting, killing, destroying properties, where did it come from? And also, in the same year, you're telling us that Islam is about peace. Where does this issue of fighting, killing, destruction come from? Does it mean that the leader, the Imam, sits behind the door, the closed door, then comes out and tell us something else? So this is something I want us to discuss, to tell us. Because if I follow the way they do their prayer, I might decide to be a Muslim. But the other way around, the other day I was discussing with somebody in Abuja. The person told me, do you know that my mother, my father was killed by the people in Kaduna? And I was like, how did it happen? The story was too long. They say, there's nothing that can compel that human being to go and become an Islam. So I want the Islam or the Muslim brothers to behave like the Christians. Go out and evangelize. Stop going into the other way around for it to cause commotion in the society. But rather, do what is right so that the people who are watching you, who admire what you do, can happily, not by force, happily become your member. So that this country will move forward. And also, let us try as much as possible to condemn what is wrong coming from the Israelis, from the Christians. Also condemn what is wrong coming from the other side of the Muslims, so that this country can move to success. Because respect, whatever thing you have done, you must give account. I was told that I've witnessed a Muslim praying with a weapon inside his pocket. And I was like, that happened in Pape in Abuja. I was like, what's this man doing with a bag inside his pocket? So please, let us try as much as possible to tell the people, as the Imam, to tell the followers of Muslims to how to behave in the public, so that people will start liking the religion. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Adjere. We'll take a short break here. When we return, I guess we'll respond to the issues that the last caller has made. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back on the subject of this program, and just before we took that short break, we heard from Adiele, who called in from Abia. And so back to the studio, I guess we'll respond to the issues that he raised. Let's begin from here in Abuja.
Yes, I'd like to really appreciate the question that Adiele asked. I believe that about the same question on many people's minds, that why is it like this? How can this be like this and suddenly it turned the other way around? I must confess that this issue of people killing people, a lot of problems here and there, is, apart from the fact that it's not unique to Nigeria, all over the world you hear of such problems happening. Sometimes when somebody commits a crime, then we quickly want to shop for what's the name of that person or from which side did the person come from. What I want us to understand is when there is lawlessness in a particular place, no matter what the clergy do, people who are lawless will still be lawless. We must also understand that imams and pastors are not security agents. They are not law enforcement agents. They can preach in their churches and mosques. We can talk on the pulpits. We can tell people what God says. We can say human life is sacred. We can say all sorts of things. We even say don't be corrupt. But despite all that, people are still corrupt. Morally corrupt, spiritually corrupt, and in so many other forms, corruptions have spread over the land. And there's very little that the imams and pastors can do in that regard, apart from talking to the people. Allah says to the Prophet ﷺ that وَمَا أَنْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِوَكِيلٍ. O Muhammad, you are not a police over the people. وَمَا عَلَيْكَ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ. Your job is to deliver my message to the people. So if, no matter how righteous a group of people are, if the other side of human nature of being corrupt or being violent is not checked by those who are in authority, there's hardly anything that anybody can do, because everybody with their own job. Politicians, on their own way, they also come around, take advantage of religious people, and they begin to send some people to kill some other people. We have seen this in so many instances in the past in Nigeria. So what I want to say to Adiele is, it is good. You are a very peaceful and law-abiding person. That's why you see things that way. And also, like what we just saw during the short break, whenever a person sees anything that is wrong, I believe both in Islam and Christianity, things that are wrong are wrong. And there's nothing like, okay, it is better that side or it is okay in this side. We all know this. These are basic things everybody is aware of. Whenever we see anything of such, people can be miscreants, people can destroy things, people can use the name of religion to commit all sorts of havoc and cause destruction. Whenever we see that, I think it is better for us to hand such things over to the law enforcement agencies so that they can work hand in hand with the religious leaders in order to put things in order. We believe, like what we have been saying all this while, that some children, so to speak, have come from some homes. Every child you see was from a particular family or the other. Going straight back to the qualities of the family unit, whenever people hear things on the pulpits, whoever they are will always come to fall eventually. So no matter what they are told in the mosque or churches, when they get back home, it's another thing entirely. Then they become whoever they want to become. So I believe strongly that the religious leaders, we have people, men and women of God, let me put it that way. These people are sincere and they speak with the authority of what God has revealed. I believe strongly that no imam or no pastor will stand on the pulpit and say A should go and kill B for whatever reason that may be. If he knows that a law enforcement is there to call him to account if any of such things should happen, you will see that people will try to curb their excesses in whatever form it may be. So I believe strongly that a lot of the sectors of society have to work hand in hand in order to broker peace in every situation that we find ourselves.
All right. Yes, let's quickly take this call coming through and then we'll come to you. We have a Reverend Tayo, I believe. Is it Reverend Tayo, right? He's calling in from Oyo. Let's go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My issue has to do with the killing of our brethren up north in Nigeria. For over the years, I lived in Kano at a time.
Hello.
I lived in Kano for over 22 years before I returned to the West and also began to pastor there. I know the number of persons that have been killed up north, even up till now and up till last month. And the issue that has always been the reason for the killing is no other thing than this religious factor. And we have seen some of our northern brethren almost all the time clamoring for the Westerners to return to their homes, basically on religious issues. We come to dialogue every now and then saying we are all peaceful and we are doing what is peaceful in our religions, but then what comes after it does not really show that we are for peace or we are doing peace. Yes, we the leaders, we will always come to talk at round table, but those who will perpetrate the evils will not at any time even do as if the things we are talking are real. If we are all for peace and one, why even in our nation today, politically, our religion is tending to overturn other religion. As far even the appointment of leaders in office and other stuff, we can just see that a religion is trying to upturn the other religion. If we all have our rights and we are practicing secularity, I want to plead with Nigerians and our leaders that what we do should be what the Lord, the God whom we serve, will really appreciate, not one trying to usurp opportunities over the other. We talk the truth as leaders, but the practice does not really come out. Thank you, my fathers and all who are talking. The Lord will bless you, and the Lord will help Nigeria in Jesus' name. Happy Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr. God bless you.
Right, thank you very much, Reverend Tayo, calling in from Oyo there. Well, let's just take it from where he left off and say, right, if, as Reverend Tayo says, the leaders come to a round table and dialogue, but the people...
It does not get to the grassroots.
Yes, they go back and carry out what they want. So, is the problem with the followership?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Tayo, again for speaking to us. I wanted to add a few points to the issue of the killings that they were talking about. One thing I believe as we celebrate our humanity in Nigeria is that if I am a Christian and a Muslim does something very good, I should be ready to praise him for the good thing he has done. He is a Muslim and he has done something good for the society. He has helped humanity. I should praise him. I should speak about him. I should even tell my fellow Christians, see what this man has done. He is a blessing to the nation, and this is how we should live our lives. And if a Christian does what is wrong, I should also speak out to condemn what he has done and tell that Christian, what you have done is wrong. And it doesn't mean I'm against my religion because I'm telling a Christian that what he has done is wrong. So that is how it should also be. A Muslim too should be ready, the clerics and all, to praise a Christian who has done well and say, this man has done well. And let's not brand ourselves as if nothing good can come from there. And then when I see somebody of my own faith, like a fellow Muslim, if he's doing something wrong, I will not talk about it. I should be the first to tell him what you are doing is not right. And this is where the religious leaders must help us. I believe that one of the things leading to killing has to do with ignorance of what the scriptures are teaching. Ignorance. Some people, you know, there is something we talk about, we call context. Sometimes you just take a verse without looking at the context, without looking at what led to that verse being written. Sometimes the context of a particular verse is the entire Bible or the entire Quran. You have to say, what is the Quran really teaching? Rather than for you to just take one word and then go out and take that word, because you have ignorance of the real interpretation, you misinterpret it. So there are some people who, even when they kill, they think they are doing it for God. Whereas another scholar will tell you that this person is doing it out of ignorance. So let's not forget that there is ignorance. There is also the issue of poverty. People have no food, they have no work. Somebody just sees them, gives them 5,000 naira. They are ready to do anything. That is one of those things contributing to all kinds of killings. Some people just want to cause trouble. And like my brother said here, we should brand criminals as criminals. If people have done something wrong, you have killed, you should be arrested as a criminal. You have committed a crime against the nation, and you should face the force of the law. I want to also talk about the issue of fanaticism. You cannot rule that out on all sides. And the fanaticism, they play out in various ways. There are some people, they are Christians, they will not even open their mouth to greet a Muslim. They don't want to have anything to do with him. That's one kind of fanaticism. There are other people, once they see the person of another religion, they go all wild. They don't want to have anything to do. Whereas this is not the teaching of the Bible, and I think that's not the teaching of the Quran. So some of these things are part of ignorance, poverty, and criminal tendencies. They are all there. How about drugs? We have forgotten drugs. That many people live on drugs. These idle, jobless young people, they spend hours taking Indian hemp, taking cocaine, taking all kinds of things. They lose their minds. And once you are drunk or you lose your mind, you can do anything which you will come and regret later. And then to go back to the issue of parenting, you see, a child that does not enjoy parental care, parental love, when he goes out, he doesn't really, he doesn't see anything in burning down something, destroying anything, because he has not been shown love. And that's why parents must also come back again, and this love must be inculcated. Once we show love, then love will be able to be extended onto other people. So some of these factors are there responsible for these killings. So it's not all killings that should be blamed on the religion. All these factors are there.
Okay, we have a caller from Kaduna, and it's Nicholas who's calling in. Hello, Nicholas. If you're still on the line, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, and I would say welcome to our daddy, Dr. James Morgan, in the studio. I've lived in Kaduna for minutes right from birth, and I just want to talk about the religious leaders. And based on my observation, anytime we have crisis in Kaduna, most of the things that happen is that from the mosques, they can call prayer from the mosques. So after that call of prayer, and that's when maybe they can start whatever they want to start. So even when we're in the university, if we hear prayer in odd hours, we know that something is going wrong. So I don't know why they do that. So anytime there's a problem, you find out that they call prayer from the mosque at an odd hour, and anytime we hear any odd prayer, if it's not the normal time, we know that something is wrong. So I don't know if the religious leader, you could talk to them about this thing, because most of the time they mobilize people for such kind of things. We have been living with Muslims all over our lives. In our area in Kakuri, right, left and center, they are all Muslims, but we live peacefully. But most of the time, anytime we hear odd prayer at odd times, you know that something is wrong. So I don't know why it happens that way.
All right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. And we're staying in Kaduna, there where you called from, because we have Imam Ashafa right there. And he also will respond to the issues that were raised in the last two calls, including yours. And after he speaks, we'll also take on Reverend Weir. So go ahead.
Thank you very much, Seren Stower. These are very, very important issues that have been raised. First and foremost, starting from Adele, we need to know that people have hijacked the identity of our religion, and they commit a lot of atrocity in the name of religion, but they are far from being religious. Because you cannot, in Islam, you can never kill anybody in the name of God. There's nothing like that. In Islam, the most important principles is that whoever kills a soul unjustly will never enter paradise. I always heard the stereotypes and some folk tales that say whoever kills a Christian or a non-Muslim is going to have a paradise and have 70 angels, 70 beautiful virgins. They are going to be around him. This is a fallacy. In Islam, whoever, wherever, if you kill a soul, you will never smell the fragrance of paradise. That is one clear important factor I want to clear. So there's no excuse, no justification. So he's a criminal, He has lost cut chain of the spiritual blessing by mere act of maiming or killing innocent person. Secondly, very importantly also, on the issue of saying that the other issues which he raised about the issue of saying negative solidarity, what we need to do, what we don't do, when we raise the voices. There's nothing like the North versus the South. It is the criminals all across our country, all across our tradition, versus the people of high values who live on the value of our religious traditions. Those criminals should be called criminal. There's not like an Islamic terrorist, Islamic fundamentalist, Islamic fanatist, or Christian fanatist. A criminal is a criminal, and let's deal with him as a criminal. That is that on that. Secondly, on the importance of the issue the last speaker raised, is the issue of calling to prayers. Calling to prayers is a sign of there's an emergency situation. While there's an emergency, it's like blowing an alarm. When there's an emergency situation in those days, there's an emergency situation, people have to run helter and skelter. They call the prayers to draw people's attention to say there's emergency. Then you move all gather in the place, either in the mosque or in the community, and you receive an information from what is going on. That was the original essence of calling to prayer at the old time. But it's not a sign to say it's time to go and start war, fighting and maiming. You cannot declare a war. No individual have right to do that, to even declare a war or even attack any innocent person wherever it is. It has happened in the past. We know it was wrong, and we sincerely work on it. And finally, to address some of those challenges, one of the important things we need to do is grassroots initiatives. In the last 21 years, the Interfaith Mediation Center, as spearheaded by myself and Pastor James Owewe, and a team of highly respected imams and pastors we have worked with, we focus on the grassroots. We call it grassroots initiatives, grassroots diplomacy, meeting people on the ground. We have a hubs across most of the states we are working in to have a team of saying, we call it Peace Gate, where these foot soldiers, vulnerable youth groups, have been youths, where you can get them and use them for violence. We always set up a mechanism of early warning and early response. We make them special honorary of peace ambassadors, and we use them, they call it community peace observers, to give us a network on our early warning and help us to address early warning and early response situations that will lead to mass atrocity in our society. We need to talk with our youth. There is a what we call generational gap between the old generations and the new generations. The digital age children and us, the analog. I and our teams here are analog, but you have the digital children, and we need to look at them from their own perspectives. Learn a new language of communication with the digital children who have been influenced not only by the community we live in, but by what is event happening in America, event happening in Australia, event happening in Asia, event happening in Middle East, or in Far Asia, or in Europe. This influence them, and they have their best of friends from there, on this part in their hand. How do we influence them positively? I think it's not about, yes, they only talk of religious tea, religious leaders sitting down on the table to drink tea. But it's religious leaders. When you have a meeting, how much have you gone back to your community and stepped down, download those information? This is what we are missing and what we need to do. Most of our imams need to pick up, like Akanji, and become digital imams and digital pastors so that we can communicate digitally with our generations. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We'll just ask Pastor Webb to hold on a while because we have this call coming through from Ilorin. If the caller is there, just go ahead and introduce yourself and let's hear you. Okay, we've lost the call from Ilorin. Yes, Pastor Webb, let's hear you too. You're digital or other?
Sorry, I'm hybrid. I am between analog and digital. I do a little of all. But having said that, the issue about generational gap is because out of our mouth we have ventilated hate and dangerous speeches. Religious leaders can justify evil if they want to, and have verses from their scripture to superimpose their justification for those things. So young people hear religious leaders talking on pulpit, demonizing the others, sending out hate and dangerous speeches. Number two, our political actors too are not left behind in promoting hate and dangerous speeches. And when young people hear these hate and dangerous speeches, they capitalize on these hate and dangerous speeches to begin to hunt the others, like people hunting rats and other little games in the bush and killing them. sniffing them out of their hiding places to kill them. So these are, as a factor, these are coming from hate and dangerous speeches. So I think also we should put some restrictions. I know there are people talking about bills on restriction of preaching, and I think those bills that are out there, there is need for wider consultation to have the midwives, the draftsmen of this bill meet with religious leaders to bring out what they know. You see, if you want to catch a thief, give the thief something to keep. And let these people sit down together and bring what will checkmate some of the fears that the other political actors are having. But prominently, I think it should also include political actors who are sending wrong signals to young people, using also the digital and the analog means to send these messages. If we have the bill in place and we have necessary institutions to ensure that people comply with those bills, I tell you, those things can be stopped. It is people talking and programming young people. We need to deprogram them. We need to teach religious leaders to accept the order, to also learn more about their faith in order to respect the faith of the other. And young people should not be left behind. We should develop camps for them. We should go and meet them where they are. And I think what Interfaith has been doing over the years is going down there. We have not been on the media quite enough, but down on the ground it is happening. I cannot imagine what is already happening with the people of Imo State, talking to people of Bauchi State. Recently, I saw the governors of Kaduna, governors of Bauchi going to Imo. We need to see more of that happening all over this country so that we can address the issues of hate and demonizing and programming young people to become instruments of destruction. That needs to stop. If it were our children, how would we feel if our children go out there and get killed because they are programmed or motivated by hate and dangerous speech? Forgiveness is what we must teach, and people must learn to forgive and move forward.
Okay. Right. So, back here in our Abuja studios, and yes, let us begin to look at, as we prepare to wind down this program, the way forward. Imam Ashafa has talked about people downloading, going back, and even the leaders themselves. He's talked about the role of politicians and how politics has crept into everything that we do. And I believe it was one of the callers earlier who even talked about the political class using religion to further, divide the people and all that. So how do we ensure that we're talking to the people who have not had the benefit of a good background and good neighborliness?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. You see, luckily enough or good enough, almost every village you go to today, you will see a church, or you see a mosque, or you see a form of clergy that address the people. I believe the religious bodies have gone very far, especially like the example that was given from the Kaduna side about going to the grassroots. However, I want us to not to forget something. We have a much larger population of young people in the rural areas than in the urban centers. I also believe that this digital and whatnot we are talking about, we are just talking about very small percentage of the affluent in the urban areas. What of some in the rural areas who are not even documented? That is, their names are not even written anywhere as Nigerians. They don't have driver's license. They don't even have voters. Anyway, when it's election time, the politicians know how to do that one. So what we have observed is we have a large population of young people in the rural areas, and the politicians are very smart. They make use of them to get to power, and after getting to power, the children continue the way they had always been. So in my own opinion, I think it is best if the government also has a hand in this matter, not to leave the whole thing to religious bodies to do by themselves. Like I said earlier on, and as was also reiterated by my other seniors, if a criminal is a criminal anywhere in the world, and whatever anybody does, we should ensure that we give it that backing of the law and let everybody be held accountable, whether the person is a religious leader or just an ignorant follower or whoever the person is. Law and order has to be maintained by all means.
All right. We have calling in from Abuja, Toba, who's calling in from Abuja here. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How's everybody, sir? We really thank God for this program. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, we really thank God for this program you are putting together, and I pray that God will bless the pastors and the imam in Jesus' name, and this Ramadan period as well. I really want to fish in some issues as well in respect to what the man of God, Mr. William, has just spoken. I want to encourage the pastors and the imam to involve this Governor Ahmed El-Rufai in this program whenever you are doing it. I just discovered that Chitap is a young governor that is not religion fanatic and sentimental governor. So I have been in Zara for like 10, 15 years before I came to Abuja. I'm a Christian. All what they discussed instead of calling prayer from the mosques to create problems. I think it is true, but now that we're in a modern world, and I want the men of God to come together and involve Government in the program. So as we are doing the discussion together, we'll be able to involve the security men, the service men in the same meeting so that they will play their own part as well. Not that religion will do their own, go back to mosque, go to church, and the service men, the security men will not be involved. Because the end result of the security, the preaching, the whatever, will go back to the security men. If a policeman, a Muslim, or a military man, a Muslim, a Christian soldier man is not involved in the program. If there's a religion, tax, or whatever, automatically what the whole discussion is in vain. So God will bless the imam, the pastors that are there, inshallah, and in Jesus' name. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
God will bless you for the program too.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so Reverend Akonji,
Well,
yes.
Thank you very much. We all know that the experience of violence, the increase in violence, I would say, is traceable to a particular time. And I believe that it can also stop. And one thing we must do is we must learn to forgive one another and put the past behind us and begin to work in a new way, collaborating together. Like we have a lot of commonalities in our faiths, Christians and Muslims. Christians pray, Muslims pray, Christians fast, Muslims fast, Christians help the poor, Muslims help the poor. All of that we have. So there are a lot of commonalities that should bring us together. And but we also have common problems. There are health issues, security issues, lack of amenities, where we live, no water, no good road. If we come together and we begin to collaborate together, we have projects that we are doing together, then it will take our minds away. The human mind cannot remain a vacuum. You can't just say you have removed something and you leave it free. If you leave it free, something more dangerous will come in. But you must occupy it with a positive thing. And therefore, we also need to have these interactions on all levels. On the high level, the middle level, and on the lower level. And I believe that some of those in the government can promote this interfaith harmony. You know, if you are, for instance, some of what we have been experiencing, the FCT ministers and current ministers, quite eager that Christians and Muslims should always collaborate and talk with one another. And the government can facilitate such forum, or such fora. And I believe that every stakeholder too should contribute to ensuring that we have such fora everywhere. So it's not a, and then we shouldn't wait until there is trouble before we start looking for one another. Where are the Muslims? Where are Christians? Let's talk. Let's dialogue. Dialogue should not wait for when there is trouble. It should be an ongoing thing, so that when the trouble wants to come, because we have been with one another, the trouble can be mitigated. For me, I can take my telephone and call the chief imam in the central mosque. I say, Chief Imam, I'm hearing this and this and this. And then he say, okay, I will look into it. He calls me back. You know, we have been collaborating at that kind of level, and we need more of such. With that, we are going to have a better society, and we will be able to move forward. I think the time to over-demonize one another is over. Let us come together and look at our commonalities and see how to forge ahead.
All right, thank you. We have calling in from Abuja, Adeolu. Adeolu, go ahead. Well, I think we lost that call, right? Yes, we lost it. But let's go over to Kaduna. Imam Ashafa, yes, as Reverend Akonji says, amenities don't have a religion. Bad roads, no water, no electricity. It's not just a Muslim or a Christian affair, right?
The fact is, the drivers of the conflict, the motivating factor, and the sustaining factor are far, if I will put it on my own language, I'll say 90% political issues. There are socio-political issues, but people doesn't know how best to send this message across. Then they use the carrot of religion. And they come into religion, hijack religious identity, and commit most of these atrocities. We can find it across this country. It has been a clear path we see in the Northeast insurgency, the common challenges we find in the Southeast, the South-South challenges we are having of insurgency, and all those challenges, they are coming because there's a socio-political gap that need to be filled in. And at the end of the day, it takes us the religious dimension. For example, look at the issue of herdsmen and the farmers. This issue is purely the issue of climate change. And climate change, environmental degradation is happening, and people have to move, migrate. And in migrating, they move with their animals, and the consequences today, that issue of environmental that need a real political issues, political solution, is taking religious dimension. It is the Muslim versus the others, or the others versus the Muslims. So all these are issues that sincerely our political leaders need to sit up first. And secondly, very importantly, I want to see that most of our political leaders who have political talks, some of them have prayer houses somewhere else, some of them have political talks in their houses. You see youth who they say they are political vanguard. And all this, I want to appeal to our politicians and as religious leader, saying please and please, what you know you cannot use your child for, don't use the child of others as your what? As your walls, your foot soldiers for your atrocity, in protecting your office or whatever you want. Find another means, please. Stop using the innocent young children as political talks. If you go to most of their offices, their houses, you find these guys there. We saw what happened clearly the other times, just of recently, in Abuja, where small children with daggers and arrows. For what? Because somebody is moving out of office and some people need to go to that office, they need to do this. These are issues across the country. Our politicians should please and please stop hijacking our religion for their political agenda. Leave religion out of it. This is the most important appeal. Secondly, I want to appeal to our religious leaders. If you want to make money, I beg, resign from the mosque. Go and look for money. If you want to become a politician, resign as imam. Go and become a politician. Your mosque is for everybody. It's either a PCC, it's PDP, it's alliance, it's whatever political party affiliation or non-political affiliation. Your mosque is for all. You are there to mentor people, to show them the way to be a better citizen. The same applies, of course, for the pastor. It is one of his primary responsibility to mentor the people. If you want to be a politician, because it is becoming difficult to draw a line between a politician and the religious leaderships. And I feel there needs to be a clear demarcation. If you are a religious leader, you are the father of all, irrespective of political affiliations. But if you are a politician, you have an agenda, you have a political party, and you have to market your product for people to buy in. Finally, sir, I want to appeal to the government. If it is a government agency, the Nigerian Interreligious Council, there's a need to reactivate that council. The highest authority on this council needs to be activated, reactivate this council, make it effective so that they will now be able to raise their voices as saving grace. Because as we are going, what is happening in Central Africa between the anti-Salaka and anti-Balaka, we fear that it shouldn't come to our country because politicians have hijacked that place. What happened in Rwanda must not happen in Nigeria. Rwanda, we know the challenges they face and how they go through politicians hijacking that thing. I beg, we shouldn't bring this thing into Nigeria. We must not witness what happened in Rwanda before we learn a lesson. It's time for leaders to sit up. It's time for political leaders to sit up. What has happened in former Yugoslavia must not happen here. Everybody say, Oyinbo no divide us well. We need to reshape Nigeria. God has put us together, and we need to manage this Nigerian product. It's our packet. We must manage it very well. I pray that we all live up to our primary responsibility of religious leaders, devoid of sentiment, expecting the divine intervention in our country to make it a better place. Thank you very much. This is my little contribution on this particular way forward.
Pastor Weave, you're there, so you can take it up right from where your brother left off.
Thank you, Cyril. Cyril, my name is Wuye, like in Wuye district. We are from Plateau. So thank you again for giving me a new name. I hope the Plateau people will give me land in their country and their states. But having said this, I want to say that clearly speaking, my colleague has spoken quite strongly on the issue that we need to get the political actors to begin to do that which is right and stop hijacking the identity. Of course, we need also to come back to say, let's go down deep and revalue our people. We have a flamboyant lifestyle. Nigerians at death, they spend a lot. At birth, they spend a lot. When they want to marry, they spend a lot. That brings about corruption. And when there is corruption, people think the resources is not enough. Everybody wants to take. And because we must celebrate our death, we must get rich at all means by every means necessary. And the toggery that my colleague had just said are those systems that were put in place. We are using human machine to destroy one another. I feel again, as a way out is, there should be sincere north-south dialogue at the grassroots. And every religious institution need to be put together. I feel also there is the need for exchange. Let there be pastors going to Islamic institutions to talk about Bible. Let seminaries invite imams to talk about their faith. Let's not speak for the other faith. Let every faith speak for herself. No matter how I know Islam, I cannot empathize for Islam. No matter how you know Christianity, you cannot empathize for Christianity. But let's have a way, like the book that was written by both of us, the pastor and the imam responding to conflict. Get the differences. Once you know the differences, respect those differences. Those common grounds, put them up and highlight them. Like Professor Obasanjo will say, when there are differences, massage them. Massage them. When you massage, that is where you can get the ache and pain going. Nigeria needs to massage those thorny areas. Let's give our children a whole Nigeria, not a divided Nigeria. But we have a role to play. Religious leaders should be in the front because most politicians go to our religious place of worship. What we tell them is what they will do. And let's also avoid the patronage of government. If government over-patronize religious organization, it politicizes the religious organization. People will not go even into religious organizational setting to actually serve. They are going there because there is government patronage, things are shared, and everybody will fight to go there. I think they should get themselves out there and serve humanity rather than service because there is government patronage. Don't spoil the religious leaders' government. Use them profitably, not in the other way around. Thank you very much.
All right. And back here in Abuja, Ustaz Abdul Fattah Adiemi, the Ramadan fast has been concluded. And everyone is looking forward to the Eid al-Fitr. What should be the takeaway, the lessons?
Thank you very much. As we all know, the Ramadan is, it has been a training time for everyone, training to experience what every human being experiences. We experience hunger and thirst, and that is to say that we are all the same in this regard. No matter how rich or not so rich a person is, we all feel the pang of hunger the same way. Just the same way as we fall ill whenever we would, we should also know that we are all the same in every aspect of life. So in other words, there cannot be cooperation without unity. There's no way we can be united if we don't cooperate by understanding one another, and there's no way we can understand each other if we don't respect one another. There's no way we can tolerate one another if we don't accept one another, and there's no way we can have love if there's no mercy. These things go hand in hand, just like there cannot be peace without justice. If we can harmonize all these things together, we know that I feel hungry the way other people feel hungry. If I know that I fall ill the way other people fall ill, I will be more, I will show more sympathy. I will empathize more with people, and I will know that the next person is actually a human being like me, and I owe a certain duty and responsibility to my fellow being. And I like to emphasize what has been said earlier on about the family values. I want to remind the religious leaders, the pastors and imams, to let us emphasize more on family counseling. A lot of divorce, separation, broken homes, broken lives, broken hearts, broken societies. These things lead one to the other. But if we can take care of the family unit and put these values in them, the fathers and mothers will know how to inculcate these values in their children, and they too in turn put that across to their own children. I think this Eid period is a time for us to share more in humanity as much as we share food too.
Okay.
Well, thank you. It's been a wonderful time and a learning period from one another as people have spoken. I just want to say that in order to really get started, do not wait for the next person. Each person should begin something concerning building peace. Just in that little corner where you live, the person who is of another religion with you, why don't you warm up to that person? Don't wait till it is happening at the state level or happening at the national level. Just at your own corner where you trade, where you do your work in your office, make sure that you live in good relationship with others, and let us also live sacrificially, not selfishly, not for ourselves. Once you are an altruistic person, living for the good of others, not just thinking of yourself, we will have a better nation, and our collaboration will bring better development.
Okay, thank you. And Pastor Wuye, right? I got it right this time, sure. Right? Good. So,
yes, and for me, fellow, like I will say, brothers and sisters of Nigerian extract, we need to love excessively. Our religion, Islam is peace, and Christ is the Prince of Peace. I will always advocate for double peace. Number two, the Ramadan has just ended. I was expecting the fulfillment of what the Ramadan has told my Muslim brothers to do, that apart from giving zakat to others, they should also give to wayfarers. So as a wayfarer sojourning on this earth, I expect some goodies from my Muslim friends. And I think we should also, as Christians, extend love to our Muslims. Give them a packet of juice. Give them something. Let's pragmatize what the Bible says. Reach out to the other in love. Let's infect one another with love. Let's compete over doing good to one another. In that way, I give you a bag of rice today, you give me 2 tomorrow. Tomorrow I give you 10. Let's be doing that until we overwhelm one another with love, and then Nigeria will move forward.
All right. So, well, it's a good point, and now that you've reminded me of it, we'll put the same thing to Imam Ashafa right there, and I'll take a cue from what Pastor Uye has just said. So we're waiting.
Well, for me, I will not give him 10 bags of rice because I would prefer that he give me more of, he give me the cash so that I can use it to pay my children's school fees. I think that will be one of the important things I would do than collecting the rice. And secondly, for me, another important thing I want to let is that the dignity. We need to understand the essence of our religiosity. No matter how much we worship God, if the inner, the spiritual essence could not manifest in its cause, then the act and the worship are all in vain. They are useless venture. Because I strongly believe the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, said, the best among us as Muslims and the best of mankind are those who bring benefit to the others. And the Prophet one day was talking, nobody will enter paradise until you have faith, Iman. And no one will have faith until you love. And the companion, he told the companion, should not teach you how to love? He said, share the greeting of peace among yourselves. So it shows to us as Muslims, it is the humanity in us that makes us great. And as long as your neighbor is not comfortable with you, you have failed to live as a Muslim. You are already just stealing the identity, you are not there. I hope we all live as true to our traditions so that Nigeria will be a greater nation that our children will be proud of.
Okay, and it is on that point we'll leave it there, and we'll just say thank you very much, Imam Muhammad Nurin Ashafa and Pastor James Mobel Uye. We thank you very much for sharing your time with us on this program. Thank you to both of you.
Peace be with you, all Nigerians.
And back here in Abuja studio, would like to say big thank you to Ustaz Abdul Fattah Adeyemi. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
You're most
and
welcome.
Pastor Reverend Israel Akoji, who is the CAN chairman in the FCT, would like to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. And to all of you who've been part of this program, we say thank you. And we'll reach you again next week on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober, and here's saying a happy Eid al-Fitr to all of you in advance. I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.